Ladies and gentlemen, we always pop in looking something like this. Material Issues, episode number 18. Can you believe it? With yours truly, Mark Hershberger, Pop Detective Records, and my very good friend, Mr. David Bash of the International Pop Overthrow Festival, which just happens to be kicking off for the first time in a year and a half in Arlington.
Months.
22 months.
Since our last IPO.
Since the last IPO, and it's kicking off when?
Tonight. At 8 o'clock Central Time.
Well, welcome, David. Welcome to Material Issues number 18, another great show tonight. So tell us a little bit about the 22 months and the kicking off in Arlington this evening.
Well, first off, I have to thank Alan Pecci, Victor Irwin, and everyone at Spider Pop Records, because it was actually, I broached the idea to them and they were receptive immediately. And we actually were going to do it a couple of years ago, but it didn't work out detail-wise, but it did this time, and we're thrilled. We love those guys very much. They've got great acts on the label, some of which will be playing the festival. And we've got 15 awesome acts over the 4 days. Full disclosure, we lost a few due to COVID concerns, which is certainly understandable. I can't begrudge anybody who is uncomfortable with coming to a venue at this juncture. But fortunately, we still have 15, and they'll be great. And this is the 18th Material Issues episode, and appropriately for me anyway, 18 is the Chai sign. Let me say that right. The Chai sign in Hebrew, Chai for life. Now, and maybe apropos or ironically or whatever you want to say, Yom Kippur is tonight, and I shouldn't be working, but I am. So, God, if you're hearing me right now, please forgive me.
And
I don't mean to offend.
I don't think he'll take offense to it. I think he's getting his viewing glasses on from wherever his comfortable seat is, and he's going to be at the Black Box is what it's called.
Black Box 215.
Black Box 215. So if you're in the Arlington area and you want to be out and about checking out some fantastic bands, that's where you want to be tonight. Black Box 215.
God is a pop fan. Clearly,
God is a pop fan.
Or he wouldn't have allowed so many great pop bands to exist.
That's right.
I sound like Jeremy Morris now, which is not a bad thing to sound like.
Well,
if the world was filled with Jeremy Morrises, we'd have no wars. We would basically be living a John Lennon Imagine life, except for the no religion part, of course.
Well, I mean, I can't believe we've got 18 episodes under our belts.
And somebody who's actually in the vicinity. Hey, Andy.
Andy, good to see you checked in, Andy. Good to see you. And of course,
so I'm very excited. I'm a little bit nervous, as I am before all IPOs, but mostly nervous energy, not like, oh my God, it's going to be awful kind of nervousness.
Right.
No, but hey, Kurt, we'll see you in tomorrow, I guess. Hopefully, Kurt Vance from Power Pop Overdose.
Nice.
Who has come down to Texas to check out a couple of IPO shows. So we're very grateful for that. But enough about me, because we've got a very special guest, our first repeat guest. And it's not something that we're going to make a habit of. But this man has done so much in the music biz, and he's so eloquent that there's no way an hour could contain him. And we basically got through about half of his music life in the first hour. So we had to give him another one. Yeah, that's him. All right. And as I mentioned in the first episode, so many of us, both, pop fans, pop bands, artists alike, owe so much to this man for bringing the pop scene to the world, for keeping it alive for so many years, with so many great releases in his mail order company. And we're grateful, and we're very grateful to have him back. So without further ado, would you please give a huge Material Issues welcome to Mr. Bruce Brodeen.
There he is, my friends.
Mr. Sigmund Freud, ladies
It
and
is
gentlemen.
Yom Kippur, and David, I knew Sandy Koufax, and you, sir, are no Sandy Koufax.
No, indeed, I am not in any way.
Welcome, Bruce. Look at him sitting on his high horse with the pipe and the cherry tobacco.
There is nothing in that pipe. Just
love. Love is in that pipe.
There is not. Hey, Kurt's in the house, so Kurt,
there you go. Look at that. I just got my T-shirt. I'm going to wear it one of these weeks.
I figured, I was going to send you a picture, Kurt. But I figured wearing it in an interview would be better. So, y'all, power pop overdose.
Nice.
There you go.
And freaking tastic, awesome blog. Everyone go join that group online.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
If I recall, we kind of left off by talking about your first releases, which were a duo releases and a compilation. We're talking about NotLame, of course, your first major label, as it were, major pop label. And what was your first release by just one band?
There's an oldie but a goodie there. We talked about, I guess we're going to be serious in this interview here, dealing with the legacy of NotLame recordings. So we talked about Double Dose of Pop and Sympophony being the first releases, and then also the Pez Band. Now, in terms of an order, I am so unanal and so not left brain. So I've never really even organized all the selection numbers and the formal totals of all the releases, except to estimate that NotLame released 120, 130 CDs.
Wow.
In its time on Earth. And that's a good question. With the first freestanding band on the label there. I think it was Miracle Bra.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Life. Which album? Was it Life on Planet Earth?
Oh, Life. Yeah, Life on Planet Earth's not.
That is a great record. I mean, classic power pop album. You can't get much better than that.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I noticed that happened very early in the early mid 90s with shifting into gear with the label was that malaise that a lot of artists struggle with, that once they finish a project and they put that to bed and off it goes to the pressing plant, that they never listen to that record once it's done. And that was not the case with NotLame many times. I always had a chance to sort of rotate around and re-experience a lot of the releases that I was associated with, blessedly. And I recently pulled out Life, and I tell you, those 20 songs, I mean, just top to bottom, Andy Bopp is just one of those rare, super uber talented.
Eric, that's a Y, not an I.
What's that?
I'm telling Eric Block, who posted Baltimore's own Miracle Bra. It's MYR.
That's a Y. That's a Y in there.
And Andy did it so effortlessly. It was like you listen to those songs and they sound like simple 3-chord, like anybody could do this type of songs. And then you sit down and try to do something like that.
Yeah, his manager sent me a cassette tape. In probably 1996 or so, and with 5 songs on it. I have that tape buried somewhere. And I was just so blown over. Of course, I called him right away. Noticed the 617 area code that he was calling from, and was surprised to find on the other end a British accent. Or John Lay, the manager.
Oh wow, there's a name from the past.
Yeah, is from England, and the manager he has a very interesting legacy in the music business himself, but the one that was most relevant and germane to my own personal experience was he was the tour manager for Squeeze during their 1978 to 1983, I think it was. Wow. In there, Chris Difford mentioned him a couple times in his autobiography. So that was the first one, Dave. And I mean, it's one of those ones that was truly a landmark album in the genre in the 90s. I mean, if you're going to list in terms of self-released records that represent and present a codification of the genre in that decade, Miracle Bra has to be put onto that list of top 10, in my opinion. And I think many other people's opinions as well.
I would agree. I want to segue into something here because I just think that this exemplifies just, what kind of a person you are and what kind of a label NotLame was. When the Poptopia Festival was coming, there was a head of another pop label. They shall remain nameless. They had some very good acts on, but I remember when people would come up to him and, with their cassettes or CDRs or whatever as demos, he would always say, "I don't have any pockets." And I used to think, I understand that you don't want to hear everybody's submissions because most of them are going to suck. Yeah. But what about the good ones? You never did that. I mean, wherever you were, if somebody had something for you, you took it. I mean, yeah, most of it was going to be not to your liking or maybe not within the parameters of the label, but you would take them and you'd listen to them and you'd separate the wheat from the chaff. That's really important. And I'm sure how many submissions did you used to get every week, let's say even?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting. We all come from the orientation of being a fan. And that's something I was always sort of grounded in. And I think that was very authentic to, anybody that spent any time with any of us, we were geeks first, lovers of the music. So one of my great joys, not banes, it was a blessing, not a bane, with going to festivals like IPO, and traveling anywhere, music business events, and getting the mail every day was an event. I mean, it was something I never tired of looking for. I loved getting demos. I loved getting the shitty, crappy demos. I remember there was this one demo. Got a great story here. This guy his name was Christoph with a K, Christoph, 2 F's. And this was probably 1998 or so. And by far the most god-awful demo I ever heard. Oh my Lord, it was wretched. I mean, the guy was tone deaf and couldn't sing. He was just and just he played on an electric piano. And sorry, Christoph, I hope you're not listening because you're.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. We've got Christoph here.
Yeah, Bruce lives in Denver, Colorado.
No, never mind.
You can find him there. Oh, he lives up in Aspen still. But I never tired of that. It was such a joy to come home with big mail bins every day, getting the CDs that were sent to me, and when artists at these events would hand you their CDs, I understand a lot of them are really shy, and it's like they have this perception that you're a lot bigger person than you are and like unobtainable, but I was clearly just another dude.
But you had a mystique. You really did. Like I said, last time you were, the most common question I would get at the first IPOs, wherever they were, was, "Is Bruce Brodeen going to be here?" Everyone wanted to meet you. Everybody. I mean,
I really genuinely wanted to meet them. Well, that was the great thing of having a label and a music distribution company, because carrying thousands of other independent music artists and smaller labels allowed me to have a larger, broader reach beyond the label. Because, of course, the label's releases aren't necessarily going to be in the sweet spot of everybody. But when you're an online record store and distributor, you're able to reach more people. So it was always such a joy to meet the people, the faces. A lot of them are on right now. I'm looking at some of the names here, and some of my favorite, John Kirby being one of my favorites. God.
Now, Bruce, a question for you though.
Hey, John.
Where's Kirby? He's going to say hi to somebody.
And Andy made it. I'm glad you feel better, Andy.
Yeah, we're glad you could stay through it. Yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely.
When you released Miracle Bra, the first real band unit that you put out, was NotLame the catalog or the distribution or the website, was that already in process? Were you selling CDs, or did that come about because of you're releasing now things on a label, or what was the timing of?
Or did it come about because you heard so many great things? You knew you couldn't release them all. It was like, but the world needs to know about these. So let's do a mail order company.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned in the part one interview. It was clear really from the outset. You know, when I started NotLame, I thought it was just going to be a record label. But I was receiving all these demos. Again, I'm a fan. And I was like going, oh my God, all these amazing artists, they just don't have an avenue of access to be able to get their music heard. And okay, I'm building a database with the label. And well, what if, and I was a fan of all these mail order outfits in the early 90s that were carrying like indie alt rock. Because I'm a pantheist when it comes to music. I really worship at the altar of all. It can really find redeeming value in almost most music genres. So I was buying lots of that kind of stuff. So I had a model to emulate because there was a lot of really good mail order companies. I'm trying to remember them. There are a couple in Chicago and one in New York. Simple Machines out of Washington, D.C.
Parasol?
What's that?
Parasol.
Oh, well, yeah, Parasol. Because they were in the pod. Yeah, Parasol. Very much so, Parasol. You know, and I was buying records from all these people too. So I had, I'm like, okay, they did it. I can do it. So you just put out a clarion call. Email was coming, fastly accepted as a vehicle of communication internationally. So you just said, hey, depending on how much I thought my gut told me I could sell something of, send me 5 copies, 10 copies of your CD on consignment, and off I went. Mm-hmm. And then pretty soon the better selling CDs were selling 20, 30, 40, 50, 100. Hey, you got a guest coming on in a couple of weeks with David Murr from the Merrymakers. And I imported hundreds of bubblegum from Sweden for that release, hundreds of copies. And just rightfully so, it was a bestseller on import of epic proportions.
Right. Yeah.
I have one of my favorite IPO memories, by the way, is connected to David and the Merrymakers.
Are you sure it's IPO? But let me find out.
You find out.
No, you have to tell me what the memory is.
Oh, well, you weren't there, but it was at the hotel after the Merrymakers gig.
That's Poptopia.
In 98. Was that Poptopia?
Unfortunately.
Oh, sorry, Dave.
Unfortunately, like they shouldn't have had the opportunity. I mean, I wish we'd had the Merrymakers at IPO, but we never did. I've had David play.
I'm just kind of a Zen guy. It's all about the moment, Once it's there, it goes away.
But anyway, Go ahead with your story, because I was there and I do remember.
Yeah, they had a great gig. It was the Merrymakers, Chris Von Snyder, Gail George, and a bunch of us just hanging out at the hotel till the sun came up, playing songs out by the pool and in the hotel rooms, and just it was just a beautiful, pure music kind of encounter, just filled with all kinds of good people running around the hotel. But anyway, the mail order
IPO actually.
Out of it, I see a question from Andy here.
This is a good question.
Out of interest, did you ever put any submissions that people handed out? Yes, quite numerous times. But the one that is most relevant is one that I did 5 records with, and an artist that many of you listening right now probably gonna be familiar with. Can you guys guess who that is?
Is it the Shazam who I'm looking at behind you? No.
Is somebody here at this? Oh yeah, seriously. I thought I was gonna say, is he right now? I gotta talk to him. We're working on something. No, Michael Carpenter.
Oh. Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah.
Ah.
Michael Carpenter.
Yeah.
So yeah, I still have this demo that he sent me of his sort of rough but pretty close to final mixes for what he felt was his strongest songs for Baby, the first record that we did. And of course, I mean, I was in the hotel room. I'd received it. I was rooming with Jim Horan. His name comes up the second time. And Jim and I, were listening to all the demos that people were giving me, at these events. And it was like immediately we're doing it. I just sort of always have been a gut kind of person. I really never was grounded in any sort of machinations for designing profitable models, selling music. It was really, do I love it? And does it move me? And can I genuinely, authentically say, proudly that I want to be had this on the NotLame label. And of course, many of those, most of those projects, I'll to be honest with the numbers of the label, it's so many years on, but the label never sold a lot of most of the releases. Most of those they should be. I guess some of the releases are worth a lot of money now on Discogs and other places, but generally speaking, I pressed up 1,000 copies, 1,200 copies of a release on a first pressing, and if it made it to a second pressing for another 1,000. Great, but I usually was holding on to, many boxes of.
For those of you younger listeners, that's what you had to do then. The minimum was 1,000.
Yeah, minimums were 1,000.
Couldn't do like 50 like you
couldn't do anything less than 1,000. And then of course you're sending out a couple hundred on promotion. Many times, I try to do advances where possible, but then I just became too crazy of a fan. And I couldn't afford the cash flow to give everybody advances. So I started giving artists 300 copies of the CD as a royalty that they could then sell for 10. Back then you could get $15 at a show for a CD. But
it really turns a lot of all those releases into instant collector's items for people who love the genre, love the music. And if you didn't get your hands on it, as you said, you can look on eBay and things today, and some of the prices that some of these discs are getting is pretty darn impressive, But
the exceptions would be on the opposite side of things, rather than this extreme austerity to the ridiculously over budget kind of projects like Shazam Records. We spent $13,000 to $15,000 on those records each.
Wow.
Which was a pretty penny, back in the late 90s and the early 90s. Of course they sounded like it, but Brad Jones doesn't come cheap, and and it really, we wanted to have epic kind of results. Rook's projects, we spared no expense. As money became available, that would go to pay for sessions with real string players. I was just a firm believer, still am, of the very unique talents and vision and aesthetic approach to creating and writing music as a craftsman that Michael Mazzarella embodies. I think he's a brilliant lyricist, and how he goes through that process of creation was truly unique and special. So it was a real honor to be associated with someone of that incredible talent. And it just bothers me immensely that there was no one that stepped into the void after me that recognized his talents and his special genius to be able to give him, the kind of money that someone that sees in the colors and the shapes that he does and how that process works. It's really unbelievable how he worked. It really was. It just blew me away.
Now, was there? Go ahead, David. Go ahead.
Somebody just asked, what do you feel is the most underrated release of NotLame? Not sure exactly what that means. I would assume just quality versus sales, or
probably from a music standpoint. God, there's so many. That's a great question, and this is when you get into 120 releases that you want to hit pause and ponder. And quite honestly, I apologize. I should have pondered this, because this is a really great question. There's so, man. Wow.
Well, maybe
who asked
Michael.
That question? Was that
maybe Michael? Because maybe the Rooks, or Michael Razzarella, because as you're saying, it should have been much bigger.
That's kind of the question.
Oh man! Oh, I hate not being able to answer this off the.
Nobody can answer these questions. Whenever you see this stuff on TV, they've been fed the questions earlier.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's one of those ones.
The hell they are.
I used to think about this, and have thought about this, and it's a really, really good question. And there was a time I did a series on the Pop Geek Heaven blog when I was going through a promotion, when I was sort of announcing my semi-retirement from back in 2017, I guess, where I wrote the 15, 20 blog posts about NotLame memories and artists that I worked with. And I dealt with a lot of those in there as I pondered that. I had to apologize that I don't have a great answer. If the person who's on, if you would reach out to me, send me a message on Facebook, and I will give you a very specific answers for some of those. I don't want to let that go to the wayside.
John Borak says, "Okay, go ahead."
Hey Bruce, was there an artist that approached NotLame, or one that you approached that you really wanted to work with? You wanted to release something, but it just didn't work out, whether it was financially or something along those lines?
Two great answers to that. One was Cotton Mather Kontiki. In 1997, I was in touch with Robert. Back and forths, of course, blown away by what I was hearing before it was coming out. NotLame was sort of getting its footing still a little bit. Distribution was coming together. It was a more formalized kind of industry back then. There were rules of engagement and infrastructure that you wanted to have in place. He was a very smart, astute artist with what he was looking for. I had a money amount to be able to give to him, but ultimately he went with Copper Records, which a label that basically went defunct within the year of that coming out, unfortunately. And they did the Badfinger tribute back at that time.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and and I was sorely disappointed, because I was going to throw everything at it. And I like to think that I would have profiled that up at a higher level. But fortunately, Kontiki was such a phenomenally transcendent record that it was able to overcome any of the limitations that a small indie label, whether it was a Copper Records or NotLame Recordings, had. So and that was one of those wonderful things where the universe just divined a way to make it work, despite the pushing down elements of the music business not really giving that an audience and a platform. The second one.
Well, if we could just rewind real quick. So the Cotton Mather, was that from a demo handed to you, or how did you become aware of Cotton Mather?
Yeah, Robert sent me a cassette of more than 5 songs. It was 5 or 6, 7 songs.
Okay.
Back then you sent cassettes.
Yeah.
You really didn't get CDRs still in 96, 96, 97. Yeah. That changed the following year. You started seeing them more around 98 or so. The second one is a great one. I got an opportunity to pitch to Cheap Trick.
Oh,
so they were in this transition, and this is fun. I love this. Is one of my favorite memories of NotLame. Why? You're about to find out.
There we go.
I get a call from their manager at the time, and they say, "Hey, Cheap Trick's interested in doing a release on an indie label, and your name keeps popping up. Would you be interested in coming out to Rockford and talking with the guys and about the possibility of working together?" Well, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what
Sure.
happens.
Not. I mean, I booked a ticket right away. I didn't know where the hell Rockford exactly was. Got there, rented a.
He was in his gold Firebird not that Rockford.
Yeah.
Under the Rockford
that was
files.
A good one, Dave. Only those over 50 will know that one.
Yeah.
And in America for that matter too.
It garnered an applause.
Oh, did it?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice. So anyway, I hopped on a plane. I went out to Rockford, and I stayed with their producer, and I basically spent the weekend with Rick and Bunny, went out to dinner both nights, Friday and Saturday night, and just got along fabulously with Rick. We were there was a connection. We were having a great time.
So you were tight, to paraphrase that.
Oh yeah. Well, went over to his house and saw his artwork. He had like a Chagall hanging on the wall.
Oh, Lord.
And there's a video online of him and his wife walking around, doing a tour of their house, which is really, really funny. Houses of the rich and famous kind of thing. But anyway, it was funny because I was there. But anyway, so we went to the studio on one of those nights after having dinner and, quite a few cocktails. Rick wasn't a teetotaler yet then. I think he stopped drinking a couple of years later. We just hung out in the studio, and they just put on all these unreleased Cheap Trick songs.
Wow.
And Bunny's there just sort of hanging out in the corner, and I'm doing things with Bunny, engaging in activities of some sort.
Say no more.
Nothing whitey kind of thing. Just good wholesale from the earth kind of thing.
Sure, all natural.
Yes, very much so. 1 o'clock turns into 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock turns into 3 o'clock, and we're just lit. Rick is just on fire. I'm on fire. We're gonna do this. This is gonna be great. I'm gonna go into debt. I'm gonna break out every credit card. I'm gonna do whatever it takes. I am all in. And I'm telling him this. It's like I'm gonna make this happen. I wasn't overly crazy and silly and overly youthful, but we're jumping around playing air guitar with each other, listening to these tracks that were going to come out on Sex Lies in America on that box set at that time. So we're literally like back to back. We're going together at 3 o'clock in the morning. And then the night's coming to an end. He goes, "Wait a second, Bruce, come here. I got something for you. And he goes off to a corner in the studio, and he pulls out this big, long poster. And what it was a print run poster from the box set. A run from that, where they would, whatever you call it in printing, but it was a really large poster that they would cut the cover for the box set from.
Right.
Like a big, massive proof sheet. And he wrote on it. I wish I don't have it on my wall here. It's in the it's in another room. But basically, he took out a pen and he wrote, "To Bruce." I know all the words. "To Bruce, my new #1 music friend." Rick Nielsen in a picture.
Oh,
isn't that sweet? Well, the postscript is.
You woke up the next day.
They told you. The postscript is they told you, don't go back to Rockford. To quote
basically, don't call us. We'll call you.
That one
too. Wait, is somebody feeding you these lines, David? Is somebody feeding you these lines?
No, they were a germ of an idea from my very battle.
They got a big offer from Red Ant, which was a well-funded indie by an industry insider that, of course, went bankrupt within a year. But they got a big advance to do it with, and they did a single with Sub Pop as well, which you may recall. I think they did a version of Brontosaurus.
Those are two great bands and albums to almost get there.
But you were vindicated, Mr. Brodeen, because not long after that, you did put up your whole world to release the Jellyfish box. And of course, the whole world wants to hear about that. Oh, look at that. John Kirby was ears were burned.
Did you remortgage? The answer, John, is yes. And of course, the Posies box set came out before this. That came out in 1999. NotLame did a 4 CD box set, at least at last, of unreleased demos, live, and cool tracks from the most awesome Posies, I should say. And he's looking for it there.
I got to fight. Stay here somewhere.
Okay. Well, anyway, with Jellyfish, Fan Club was a project that came together very slowly. Took a lot of time. It was birthed initially inside of EMI in their special products division, and they just it just didn't. Nobody wanted to touch it. The A&R guy at Capital Special Projects, Kevin Flaherty, just wasn't getting anywhere with it. Nobody was interested. And so he gave me a call. We had a long conversation, and I was like, absolutely, whatever it takes. And I won't, whatever this project needs, I will find the funds to do it, and make sure that it stands as a high level, high quality representation of the band to the best of my abilities. So we worked together over 2.5 years. I think it took, going through track, getting liner notes together, photo sessions. I'll give you an example. That center spread in that booklet, which is an epic shot. If you have that hand, I mean, you don't have it handy, Dave, because you're not at home right now, but I mean, it's just, boy, what did we spend on that? I think I spent, on that photo shoot, I spent $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, just to get all that together. So, there we go.
Oh, look out!
It's just a beautiful, beautiful shot, and it was worth every penny.
Which one are you talking? This?
Yeah,
this
that
photo?
one. Yeah, put that up there so people can see that. It's like, it's
man, she's a babe.
It's a now older girl. Still a fan, but still, of a.
Is she available?
Yeah, you're a married man.
Man? I am.
Yeah. But they gathered up all the paraphernalia there.
That's awesome, yeah.
And it just came out but I wrote the check. I said, let's do it. Let's make it great. I spent, tons of money on the mastering and the layout and just wanted to just have it be awesome. And but basically, here's the thing: the surprise that happened after 2.5 years of putting that together, all of a sudden, Capital came back to me through Kevin saying, I think maybe it wasn't through Kevin, but I got it through their product manager, saying, okay, this is great that you're going to order 5,000 box sets. But we need, which is, I think we did 8,000 of it, which were huge numbers for box sets back then. And, but they said, we need to be paid up front.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, okay, I can't afford 5,000 box sets, but I'm gonna have to do the first pressing with 3. And the total, I can't remember what the amounts of. All I remember is that the total was $180,000.
Wow.
$185,000. So I had to come up with $185,000 cash. NotLame was booming in those years, but not like that. It's still, the bleeding of money came some years later, but it was a lot. But anyway, so yeah, I had to mortgage the house. I went to the bank and got a bridge loan, put up the house against it. My wife Ruth,
God bless her,
gave a full vote of confidence in my abilities not to put my her and
you have the rarest of wives, Bruce.
Yeah, I might have one of my children. Both of them might be listening right now. I don't know. But yeah, they were very young. I think my daughter was 5 years old then, and the son was 2. So anyway, yeah, but she didn't flinch, and I'm forever grateful and for her belief in me. And the project turned out to be a wild success. We had 2 features in Billboard. And unfortunately it made the higher ups, because of those features in Billboard, look bad, because it was an EMI special project. It should have been done internally, and not housed out to another label. So there was a lot of disgruntlement with that, but they blew it. But what happened is that I wanted to start. I started work on with Pat Denizio to do the same treatment to the Smithereens. And then I also wanted to do a box set of Robin Trower, who I'm a big fan of.
Wow.
Massive fan of. And I didn't care. It wasn't power pop. I didn't care. I wanted to do a box set of Robin Trower. That's all I cared. I didn't care that it was, off the power pop map. But anyway, we started work on the Smithereens box set and putting stuff together with Pat, coming along really swimmingly. It was going to be a 4 CD project. Had somebody write the liner notes lined up, and they pulled it.
Why? Do you know why?
And they said that they said they were going to do those projects themselves.
Oh, and they did end up releasing a box of.
Yeah, no, they did a 2
more
CD
limited
set.
one.
Yeah, they did a 2 CD.
Not the quality that yours would have been. Not at all. It was very homemade.
Funny comment there. The loan officer. That's a good question. What did they ask me? I'm sure they asked me what the use of the funds were. By the way, the creative solution was to come up with that because it was a cash flow scenario. So I had to bridge myself inside of that. I did a pre-release sale where I went to the fans, people on the list and the promotion, and say, hey, this is the scenario. I need to get this out, but I need to take your order now. Essentially, I need you to take your money now, and we'll ship the box set in 6 weeks. I think it was something like that. And of course, everybody's like, duh, of course, take my money. And which was great, but I wasn't so sure at the time whether because it really that wasn't really being done then.
It was pre Kickstarter and all those places.
Doing pre-orders like that and taking money in 2002 was just not a thing that was happening. We take that for granted now, but really that was unusual and extremely rare at that time. So
Well,
I wanted to talk to you a little bit, and this will be in part a thank you for releasing all of the IPO CDs that you did. I'm trying to even remember the scenario by which that happened, because we had done the first 2 with Delphi, and then that fell through, which turned out to be a blessing because we ended up with a label that was a much better fit. Delphi didn't really know what to do with that kind of stuff. Did I approach you? Did you approach me? What happened?
You approached me and just said, here's the thing. And of course, it was my answer to you was, David, I'd be absolutely honored. Let's go. How do we set this up? And we had that one's what did we do? We did from 3 to
13 were not lame.
No, it was 8. It was more than that.
Well, Pop Geek Heaven.
Yeah, yeah.
14 on.
Yeah,
3 to
including
13
Pop Geek Heaven.
we're under the NotLame umbrella.
Yeah, we did close to 20. I mean, close to 17.
We did 3 through 20. Yeah.
Yeah. 3 through 20. Yeah, I mean, we never had a glitch at all. Everything went swimmingly and easy.
Well, I mean, we had a few manufacturing glitches. I remember for volume 11, when we got disc 2 back, there were all kinds of skips on it.
That's right.
And thank God we got that one a week early. Normally, we'd get them only a couple of days before, but we had enough time. They had enough time to take the disc back, throw out all the bad disc 2s, get the disc 2 done at another mastering place, and then it was all good. So we were very fortunate in that.
Yeah, yeah, I had, there were all kinds of problems and struggles and things like that NotLame as a distributor, as a record store, as a record label had. But it's kind of like, I hate to use the analogy, but it is somewhat applicable, like childbirth, because I'm not a woman, of course. At least this week. I'll let you know where I'm orienting.
You did a nice job, Bruce.
Everything is so malleable today, and damn, you guys are good looking. But it just, yeah. I mean, it was. I just forget the bad things. I just don't remember. There was many stresses, and and eventually things turned around. The last years of NotLame were a financial struggle as the market was shifting in terms of downloading, and people buying less and less CDs in there. So I mean, it lost a lot.
Were you down with the whole downloading thing? No pun intended.
Yeah. I was. I'll never forget. I was at South by Southwest, where I went every year in March in 1999, when Sean Fanning was doing a panel. Kind of in those very early stages of Napster. It had been out for a couple months at that point, I think. And he was getting booed, and people were like screaming expletives at him. And I remember sitting there like this in the audience going, man, this is it. Early on, I realized that this was going to be hard to navigate. But it turned out it wasn't so bad, because NotLame was so niche and so highly specialized that it was able to circumvent a lot of the downward pressure of numbers decreasing. And just being so passionate and ardent for the vision to help artists. It really didn't hit me till really about 2005. But many labels, before that, struggled.
Yeah.
What was the final NotLame release, if you recall? I mean, we're not talking Pop Geek Heaven here. We're talking about NotLame.
I believe it was the Shazam Meteor.
Oh, okay. And what year was that? 07 or 04? Wait.
2009.
2009. Okay.
Yeah.
From a band.
That's true, that would have been the 12th IPO CD. So that sounds
the IPO CD would have come out there. Well, there you go. We're gonna go back. That's one of the things that I loved was the archive releases like that. We did dozens of reissues of unreleased material by bands that people like us could only appreciate in the and Blue Ash, of course. Their first record is just such a classic in the genre before it really was a genre. Wow, what a joy putting that together. Had lots of help. One of the great things of these releases is that it takes a village. So when you have releases like this, it's always interesting that you have these movements that happen, where people and a lot of times just regular everyday fans, it's their vision that sparked it, not mine. That's one there. The Deal. I mean, on and on. A lot of these reissues originated from fan. Mm-hmm. Who said, I know the band, and would put you in touch, and then they would work alongside me with putting these projects together.
I was actually speaking with Dave Steen of Hawks.
Hawks
is another one that you did.
Yeah,
Did
I think that one we originated with the two of us, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hawks actually is part of this company a couple of years ago put out a new wave card set, like trading cards, 230 cards. I just bought it. Hawks are in there.
Are they really?
Yeah,
Wow.
Dave was shocked. I showed him pictures. He goes, "Where can I get that whole set?" He had no idea.
Yeah, no, I certainly didn't have any idea. Did they do the producers?
I haven't looked at every card yet. So
those are the two, if you remember, I'm sure you do, in 1981, 82, MTV, it debuted in August of 81 with MTV. Right. I was a freshman in college, and it was so exciting. Yeah. That first year of MTV, those first months, especially being in college. But one of the things that was remarkable was, some of these power pop bands.
Yeah.
That were getting heavy rotation. Hawks and the producers being two ones that were in constant rotation.
Yeah.
And that was before video really did terminate the radio star, because a band like Hawks, as great as they were, couldn't have gotten arrested even 10 years later, because they were guys in their 30s who looked very ordinary. I mean, you know what I mean in terms compared to the teen idol kind of thing, and they could get a deal in 1981, but once MTV came around, it became tough for bands like that. Which is,
well, that was the nice thing about, a label like NotLame, operating under the radar, is that you don't care what an artist looks like. It's all
or
about
how old they are. None of that stuff.
The music's the beginning and the end, the alpha and omega. Is it good? Is it meritorious of your bandwidth and emotional and financial commitment to bring into the world? And when I said hell yeah, that's all it was. That it took to sort of midwife these things. Hey,
that's
real quick, guys. I want to make sure that we get the questions in here. I see a whole bunch of things. Are we getting everything there? John was asking about Shalom. He did not. Shalom absolutely was a big part of the box set.
You're talking about Jellyfish right now.
Jellyfish. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Dave. We don't want that's confusing. There. Yeah, Shalom was their live guy. So for those that don't know, or that are fans and aren't aware, Jellyfish was truly an epic band live. And for a whole host of reasons. One was just the sheer level of and magnitude of the talent of the four people, whoever those four people were, because all of them sang pitch perfect, and all of them could play any instrument. And of course, Andy Sturmer was playing drums standing up on a 2-piece drum set, which was novel, but really not people. Fans didn't look at it that way. So these guys, when they toured all around the world for the 3 years that they were a touring entity, they just blew away thousands of people in a legendary manner that is really rare. Because what happened, and it's interesting how it's part of the postscript of the box set to go back to it. But I think this band is Legion. It just is. It was highly influential, and this is why Shalom Aberle is part of that reason, a big part of that reason, because this guy was a genius sound engineer, and he was their touring guy, their touring sound guy, and he could walk into any venue. And of course, when you're a developing band, you're playing in a variety of venues that are of varying quality, and you're compromising a lot of your sound when you're a band like Jellyfish, just because of the environment and backdrop on which you have to perform. Well, anyway, this guy mastered that. He could figure out how, with the resources that they were touring with, to be able to capture the sound where that anybody anywhere in that club could hear and underline experience the talents of the band in perfection. So what happened was, anybody that saw that band live was moved. And there was countless thousands of musicians who saw them, and it inspired them to be better. It inspired them to try harder, to figure out how to perform at that level. And the reason why I know this is because after the box set came out, I received for a couple of years afterwards, literally hundreds of emails and letters, not only saying, "Oh, this was amazing. Thank you so much for doing this." But attached to those were these stories, these personal stories that they had with the band. And one of the recurring themes was, I saw them live. It changed my life.
Wow.
It changed my life. And it was just echoed. And anybody who's watching this interview later on, that's a fan of the band, and that saw the band live, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I got to see them on both tours, and it was astounding. And I remember Michael Steele was at one of the shows that they did at Bogart's in Long Beach, and in All I Want Is Everything, they changed the word Beatle to Bangle. I looked back at her, and she looked quite embarrassed.
So there's a funny comment there. You see that there?
Yeah.
Marinate on that. That is so true, though. I mean, where are the girls? Jellyfish was that. I mean, these guys were just, handsome, of course, right? They were drop dead gorgeous. They were getting airplay on, numerous videos on MTV. They were selling hundreds of thousands of records, but not enough, ultimately, of course. But that wasn't the reason for their demise. It was just creative differences. Mm-hmm. But it was really true. I mean, musicians, the word of mouth pre-internet was passing around. You've got to see this band. You've got to see it.
It was. I would say. I mean, I think it's not exactly a stretch to say that probably on the consensus reunion wish band in the pop scene would be Jellyfish, hands down.
Well, they transcend the power pop community. They're really they're
well, that's why I just said pop.
Oh, okay, you said pop. Okay.
Yeah.
They're just they're much bigger than the power pop world in terms of, because there's one of the other things that I noticed too was how little interest 80% of the fans who bought the box set direct from NotLame, because of course we were distributing into record stores all over the world as well, but how little interest 80% of them had in anything else that NotLame carried. So it didn't cross-pollinate into lifting, all boats rise and sell, having that many thousands of more people in my database and customer lists. With that, they were interested in other things, which of course is fine. But it was an interesting attachment.
Yeah, if they ever do reunite, you better not have a band follow them, because they'll be
no.
the door.
I know they're open to it. You're in your interview with Jason a month ago. You brought that up, and it certainly sounds like something that I've heard the same thing. I've heard that from Roger.
Well, unfortunately, we haven't heard it from Andy, and that's of course the one guy.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. He's an enigma. He's a really unique and rare individual that has no interest of any of the trappings connected to the music business. For whatever reasons. And
that could change. Like I always say to people, if in 1995 you went up to your friends and said, "I'll bet you that in 10 years Brian Wilson will not only have finished Smile, but he'll be touring it. I'll bet you $100." You'd be a billionaire right now. Everyone would have taken that bet.
Well, I'd say this is a bigger stretch.
Really, Do you think this is a Jellyfish?
I think so. I mean, ultimately, you have to really respect where the individual is, and he's very intensely private, and really uninterested in that process anymore. He's and he's a true artist in that he just has fully immersed himself in something else. So he's all in of giving the very best at an optimal level of whatever he's choosing to work on. And, you just have to respect that as someone who's worked with hundreds of artists. It makes sense to me. And that's why it's something that I would certainly never, broach with him, but I would love to see. And of course, something could change.
Yeah.
The other guys seem open to it, and it would be an event, and it wouldn't be a tour. It would be 1 or 2 shows, one in San Francisco, 1 in LA kind of thing, probably, logistically, but also just as an homage to, the roots of the band. And it's in the realm of possibility, I guess.
You never know. Hey, I didn't go to a class reunion for 40 years.
If you're alive and healthy enough to play, it's within the realm of. Let's look at Brian Wilson. In 1995, he did not seem like he would ever be in shape to play anything, let alone smile, and pet sounds. And then, within 10 years, he's out doing both of those things.
But, and you're very familiar with this, but you put the Wondermints and Jeffrey Foskett, as the nucleus to shore up the foundation of a touring band or a working band in the studio, and you can make that happen.
No doubt. But that's in retrospect. At the time, that was their aim. But there were times where they were ready to just pack it in because they thought, we're never going to make this happen. And then they did.
Yeah.
Andy's mind could be changed. He's alive and healthy, and it could happen.
Well, hopefully, hopefully his mom has been on my mailing list for many years. So if she ever, hears on there, she's just the sweetest woman. Oh man. Wow. He came from a exquisitely awesome family. You guys need to read the Jellyfish biography. Anybody listening to this, if you haven't, you can go to Cool Cat, their website. NotLame published the first edition of that not many years ago, 7 years ago. There's an interview with me and Craig Dorfman, the author of that. He worked for many years interviewing everybody on there, including Andy. He just made just a beautiful encapsulation of the Jellyfish story. That is just a must to own for any even moderate fan, because it's fascinating getting into the psychology of it. But anyway, Andy came from just outstanding, a family of just outstanding people.
Well, no matter what happens with the Jellyfish reunion, one thing you and NotLame can be proud of is that you were a significant part of their history, and you were a significant part. You and NotLame were a significant part of the history of so many bands, whether or not you released their music or you distributed it. Like we said before, we all, bands, fans, all of us, you're a huge part of our history. We'll never forget that. I'm not eulogizing him here. But.
No, I don't taking that as such. Got to talk about my favorite band, though. I do have a favorite band on the label.
All right.
A personal one, and that's the Shazam. Yeah. This is a band that just talk about encapsulation and epitomizing. My kind of core talents, my core passions and music tastes. I feel, I was spewing effusively about Michael Mazzarella. Well, Hans Rottenberry is one of the most highly intelligent, exquisitely brilliant visionaries and songwriters, and one of my favorite people on earth. And it was and it still is an honor to be associated with all that work that we did. We made some just amazing records. That will stand for decades still, and still stand 2 decades on. But that harder rock edge in pop is just more in keeping with me, because I'm a real big fan of hard rock, and I was weaned on punk, as we were talking about in the first part of the interview. Hans can take this amalgamation of all these different of influences and create these original songs that just hit my vein, just open up and bleed, on me, to paraphrase Iggy Pop, and inappropriately, I might add, but and not contextually terribly.
We unfortunately have to wind things up here.
We're gonna talk about we've been, I'm out of the biz, but there is a reissue project.
That's what I was going to ask you about to wind up with. You read my mind. Not hard to do.
Yeah, so there is a reissue project that's coming together for Godspeed the Shazam, and it's going to be amazing. I just heard the latest batch. We've been going through dozens of CDRs. Hans has unearthed some more things that he sent me the other day. Brad Jones is remixing a lot of these, and the album itself. It's probably we have a wonderful person. I'm going to keep him nameless because I don't think he wants to be known publicly. They're sort of a benefactor that's helping to midwife this project to do it properly. And it's going to be a 3 CD set. And then there's going to be a double vinyl album with that as well. And then after that comes out in the next year, there'll be a 2 CD epic kind of new release from the Shazam called Doomsday Hotel.
Wow.
Now, all of this will be listed on your Pop Geek Heaven site. Is that a good place for people to keep track of? Or
yeah, the blog is not much of a blog anymore. It's sort of it's sort of morphed into more of a newsletter kind of service now. I do update it fairly infrequently. Well, a bit, a couple times a month. Kind of thing, but it's sort of old in the tooth, and I just focus on the newsletter. So if anybody wants to get in touch with me, I don't have a proper newsletter sign up on there right now because the plugin died, and I work in other things now, not in the music world. And you can email me at musicgeekheaven. One word at Gmail, musicgeekheaven at Gmail. And if you want, I made this offer before. If you would like a copy of the link to the 13 printed NotLame catalogs, about 900 pages of power pop history, it's yours for asking. All you got to do is just drop me an email and request it, and it'd be my honor and deep pleasure to give that to you so you can dig into the history of the genre from really about represented in terms of what was available for sale. It was a special time, 1995, to the mid-noughties.
It's scrolling across the screen at the bottom, musicgeekheaven at gmail.com. So you could drop Bruce an email. So I'd love to get that.
700 of those 900 pages are extremely highly recommended.
Highly recommended.
God, no, I was much more not discriminatory. Discriminative? What's the word?
Discriminatory.
Yeah. Okay. Discriminatory. Okay. So I was right. Okay. I was much more discriminatory then. So,
but I got to say, on a personal level, I traveled to IPO Liverpool one time and had a great time with Bruce one day. And this came out of the archives.
Oh, look at that!
That's Bruce and I at Everton's soccer club stadium.
Yep, that's the pitch of
That's
Everton.
The pitch.
The Everton Football Club.
And
we had a great time.
Somehow he and I hopped on a bus and decided we were going to go and see if we could get tickets, which were not available because it was on their Skynet or whatnot. But they still somehow got us in to see the pitch, and they gave us tickets and took as if we were celebrities. And it was
it was wild. That was so surreal.
It was unbelievable.
And then people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.
Yeah.
You guys know where that's from? Oh, I'm getting an IPO call. So
an IPO call.
I'm gonna have to take this one, but
Bruce, that was a great time in my.
You can wind this up, Mark.
All right, good. David, have a great time in Arlington. IPO.
Hello.
Oh, look at
Bruce.
Look at him putting down the business deals. Yeah. Tell them they got to be on at 8:00 sharp
right now.
They better not be late.
That's David Bash for you. But hey, Bruce, you know what? We really didn't even get to talk about Pop Geek Heaven and everything else that you've done. So we're going to have to do an episode 3 with David's replacement, Mr. John Borak.
Borak in the house. There's another legend.
There you go. Speaking of legends, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've already done an interview with the dude.
We don't need to talk more
do
about
a second
John.
interview.
No,
with John
don't
Borat.
talk to me.
Yeah.
But Bruce, yeah, thank you so much for joining us as the first repeat offender here in Material Issues History, episode 18. Just learning about NotLame and everything that you've done over the last, I don't know how many years, 30 years. Thank you for all your passion and your hard work. Thank you for being a good friend to all of us, which is really what it comes down to. Me, I'm just thrilled that I can always say, yeah, I know Bruce. Bruce is a friend of mine, and that's
by your words.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments 1,000%.
Yeah. David, you and I go back over 30 years now.
Wow, I know. That's crazy.
Yeah, 1990.
And we're only about 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember babysitting David? Yeah, it was nice. It was great.
Don't talk about that. All right, Bruce, thank you again for being on a second time. And just good luck with everything. Keep us apprised of all your endeavors.
Godspeed, everyone.
Thank you, Bruce. Have a super night.
Y'all.
Okay. Good night.
And for everybody who's still hanging around, remember, next Wednesday, we've got Nelson Bragg, followed by the 29th, David Meir of the Merrymakers, followed by October 6th, Ronnie Barnett.
Ronnie Barnett from the Muffs.
The Muffs.
And Nelson Bragg has a new album. It'll be coming out on the 30th, so he'll obviously be talking about that. And David, of course, always has something going on, and his history in the pop world is not superseded by too many people. So,
and of course, David Bash is hosting IPO Arlington tonight at Black Box 250. Yeah,
thank you. Looking forward.
Here we go,
Mark.
We're back.
Another fun episode, and we'll see you next week.
All right. All the best, David. Have a great time tonight. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Episode 18 of Material Issues. Have a great night.
Good night.